need something YouTube. Something strong. I know it's not the words to it, but it's what I hear in my head, and now hopefully so will you. I said I wasn't going to do a review of the Gladiator and make it a video, but the more of the reviews I see on YouTube, the more I think maybe I should do one. And not because I think I'm special, but because I see a lot of people with gripes and complaints just didn't pick the right Gladiator. Now, while the Rubicon and Mojave are both upgraded models from a standard Gladiator, they are both a little different. You're going to look at roughly the same price point, but these are different vehicles made for different things. The Rubicon more for rock crawling, and the Mojave, of course, for flying through the desert, catching some air and being able to land without breaking your truck in half. I had my first JK in 2012. It was my first JK model that I purchased. I kept that for a number of years, I think 4 or 5 years. Sold it and bought a commuter car, but didn't keep it long because I just had Jeep in my blood, I guess, and wanted to get back out on trails. So I got a JK Unlimited, and when I did that, I went down to what I consider my dealership, Mark Porter, CJDR, Mark Porter. They're not paying me, so Google it. I looked at a few of the Gladiators that they had, and they had one Mojave, and it was in the color that I wanted, white. And I think I chose the Mojave mostly because I don't live in California anymore. I live in Ohio now. There aren't really a lot of rocks to crawl here unless you're looking to get from one mall parking lot into another. I didn't see much of a point in getting a Rubicon, and so well, I really don't have any deserts near me either, so the Mojave also, I guess, well, at any rate, I test drove the Mojave and I absolutely loved it. I went with the Mojave because it had a great suspension, and there is nothing better for soaking up Ohio potholes quite like the suspension in a Gladiator Mojave. So I am just over 50,000 miles on the Mojave now. I've been on multiple cross-country trips from Ohio out to the West Coast, up to British Columbia, all around. And I have had, knock on wood, no problems yet from the Mojave. All my complaints are relatively small. In fact, when I first got the Mojave, I bought a set of Cooper STT Pros for my first set of aftermarket tires, and got rid of the Falcons that it came with because I went up in tire size to 35s. Oh, that's the other thing. You can go all the way up to 37s with no rubbing issues on the Mojave because of the leveling in the Mojave. The front end sits about 1.5 inches higher than the Rubicon does because they put some factory leveling in there. Before I forget, I will mention one other thing. When it comes to the Mojave versus the Rubicon comes with a 4-to-1 transfer case. The Mojave, however, and this is something that probably a novice or people who may be looking and not just pay attention might not know, is that the transfer case in the Mojave is 2.72 to 1. So you're not going to get that super slow crawl ratio that you're going to have that you would have from the Rubicon, but what you do have is 50 miles an hour in four-wheel low. Like the Rubicon, the Mojave does have a electric rear locker. It does not, however, have a front locker or a electronic sway bar disconnect. And that's one of the gripes I hear people say, oh, I would get a Mojave, but they don't have the front sway bar disconnect. Maybe they didn't make sense for the Mojave because, you know, the electronic sway bar disconnect even in a Rubicon re-engages at what, 18, 20 miles an hour? So you're going to be going faster than that in a Mojave in the sand. Not really much of a point in having the front sway bar disconnect or disconnectable. But this goes straight back to what I was saying earlier. If that's what you want, if you want the electronic sway bar disconnect, if you want the electric locker in the front axle, then get a Rubicon. Don't get the Mojave and then blame it for not having one. You knew it didn't have one when you bought it. What I added was a very modest 2-inch spacer lift from AEV. AEV does a lot of work with Jeep, and they make a quality product, so I did not hesitate to grab their spacer kit. I knew I was going to be adding some weight to the Mojave, So having that extra 2 inches of spacer left gave me the ability to add my rooftop tent, which you'll see here in a moment, and the Red Rock front bumper that I got from Extreme Terrain, and the winch that I purchased from a place out in Pataskala, Ohio, called Trails West. The extra weight of those things pushes down on the suspension a little. I will be interested to see, once I get off-road in an environment that is a little less polite to the suspension. I think I'm going to find that the extra weight of these things will weigh in on its ability to go as fast as I could go before on trails, because of course I'm going to bottom out a little faster. Oh, it's the other thing that the Mojave has is hydraulic bump stops, so you don't feel like you're smashing your brains out every time you go over some whoops or some washboards. And I've heard a lot of people talk about, oh, I want to get a Gladiator, but I hear they've got reliability issues. Well, I don't know particulars about the reliability issues. I'm sure I can Google it. Don't take my word for it. Take J.D. Power's word for it. When they said, despite Toyota's reputation for quality, the Jeep Gladiator earns a reliability rating of 85 out of 100 from J.D. Power versus 83 out of 100 for the Tacoma. A couple other things on the Mojave I really loved were these 2.5-inch internal bypass tuned Fox shocks, remote reservoir on the front and dual reservoir on the back. And they did install a factory rock rail. It's not the best, but it is a little extra protection for you when you are out on the trails. I encourage anyone out there who's looking for Jeep capabilities but needs the extra room or towing capacity of a pickup truck, give the Gladiator a shot. You don't have to get the Mojave or the Rubicon, but it is offered in other models like the Sport, and I'm sure that more models will be out in the future as the years go. Thank you. If you like this content, please subscribe, and I look forward to showing you more videos in the future.